Well, it's still a little bit early for you starting your lawn care, but you might be thinking about it. Now, there's traditional programs where you have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's kind of what I have done to my lawn, but a lot of people would like to do it a little bit differently. And one, I can show you. So this is step 1. So this is crabgrass control and fertilizer. So important part about that is you try to prevent crabgrass. So, but here's the kicker. Crabgrass doesn't grow, for example, in the shade. A lot of just parts of your yard, it just doesn't grow in. Where it grows is generally down by the sidewalks because there's extra heat there, the edge of a driveway. So what you could do, instead of using step 1, you could take, and this is just the pre-emergent. So you can't really spot treat with this one because it's got fertilizer in it. If you spot treat with something with fertilizer, then you get these green blotches. You know, your lawn is no longer a uniform color. So this is just the pre-emergent. So this is just pendimethalin. So what you can do is you can spot treat with that and just do along the edges where you've had crabgrass in the past. So instead of doing 100%, maybe you're just putting 10% of a chemical on your lawn. The other thing, the reason you prevent crabgrass is because there was no selective killers. Well, that has changed somewhat too, because there is better chemicals that kills growing crabgrass, like this one right here. Now it says Roundup on it, but this is not a grass killer. This is for lawns, so it just kills crabgrass and does a nice job. So you could skip the pre-emergent altogether, and if you happen to get some, just go down there and squirt it. Step 2 is a broadleaf weed killer and fertilizer. Now one, that's probably too much fertilizer. I think just one application of fertilizer in the spring is just perfect. What I don't like about this one is you're putting weed killer down on 100% of your lawn. So your lawn might only be 5–10% weeds. So instead of doing that, you spot treat. Use your fertilizer, and then you can get just a little bit of spot treating of this is Weed Be Gone. It's just 2,4-D and MCP, been around forever, and you just one little squirt. And so you very selectively, and then the nice thing is, as new weeds come up, because people put this down, as soon as you see dandelions, if you go to the big box stores, you'll see these yellow bags just coming out, and they put it down too early because a lot of the weeds haven't germinated, and all they do is hit the early ones, and then they wonder, well, why do I still have weeds? Well, you put it down too early. So spot treating, this allows you to go out, you know, every week and just hit whatever's coming up. People are always interested in organic weed killers. This is vinegar, which the only thing organic about it is that we're familiar with the name vinegar. We grew up with vinegar, but obviously it is a chemical as well. This particular one, and this is the problem. The problem with these weed killers, they kill grass too. The thing that we're looking for is a selective organic, and we really haven't found that yet. There is this, which is corn gluten, and if you're young, you can use it because that by the time you get older, it might control your weeds. If you're my age, not gonna work. So spot treating. So there is different ways to treat your lawn this spring. Well, we've had a pretty good run of weather. I know it's might be cool for a couple days here, but it looks like it's going right back to some nice spring weather. People start thinking about planting, and one is trees. And learning how there's nothing better than a tree, and plant it properly is even better. So right here, see the flare of the tree? So that's the flare, and that's what stays above ground. The problem is sometimes we plant trees way too deep, so you got to plant it properly. So first of all, digging the hole. I like, believe it or not, this is a drain spade. Most people will use a spade like this, but I think a drain spade is a little easier to dig in clay. So you want to dig the hole twice the size of that pot. And I know that seems enormous and annoying at the same time, but it really is necessary, because if you do it like that, you can literally be sitting this tree in a clay pan that can hold water and really damage it. So twice as wide, just as deep as it is, so because again, we want to keep that flare above the ground. So next is, people always want to take the dirt out. Really, there's two ways. You take the dirt that is there and you chop it up, because they say whatever dirt comes out, That's what the tree has to live in. And if you replace that all with soft soil around it, what the roots will do is they will girdle and they will just kind of roll around and they won't go out and establish themselves in the wider area. So the other way you can do it is you can go 50-50. So keep some of the original soil and mix a little bit of compost in it. I think really the other way is probably better, just using the native soil that was there. A compost like this is land and sea. Now, this is gourmet compost, all right? It's not for everybody, but you know, if you have the budget, gourmet compost, it's lobster and crab. So I don't know, but it's really popular right now. All right, so you can do that. Fertilizing, never, ever, ever take regular fertilizer and dump it in the hole, because that can actually, the uptake of the tree can actually burn it and damage the tree. What you do want to do is having a biotone is really good, something to help the tree settle down. And what you do with this is, they'll tell you about every, I think a 2-inch trunk takes 4 cups of this, and you mix it in with that soil, you set the tree down, and then you put the dirt in. So that fertilizer, it's not really a fertilizer, is all mixed in there. But this is a great product, and we don't plant anything without using that. As far as mulching goes, and this is going well for established trees, don't pile the mulch up around the trunk. You should keep about a 6-inch ring, and this should have nothing on it. You can go out as far as you want, and mulch is good, it looks good, it holds moisture in there, but keep it away from that trunk, because that moisture can cause insects, it can cause girdling roots, and nobody needs that kind of problems. All right, so go plant a tree. Well, early spring we are, and now it gets fun. The garden centers are starting to become alive. You'll start to see nursery stock being delivered. But as far as annuals go, first thing out of the greenhouses, the commercial greenhouses, are pansies. So pansies can actually take cold weather. So you think, well, where did pansy come? The word pansy is from a French word, penser, a little culture today, which means thought. And the idea here is that the face of the pansy, so the little face right here, it looks like a flower in thought. So I don't really get that, but that's what it is. So then it was in the 1920s that the derogatory term pansy came about, meaning coward, weak. But I am here to tell you there's nothing weak about a pansy, because right now, do you see any petunias around here? No. So maybe it's the petunias that ought to be thinking about what they should be called. But pansies are the only ones that can really be outside in a flowering plant right now. So the caution on pansies are, remember, they just came out of a greenhouse too, so they have to be hardened off. So sometimes it wouldn't hurt to ask the person at the garden center, it's like, hey, how long have these been outside? Because if they just got put out or if they just received them that afternoon and they were in a greenhouse within 24 hours, and all of a sudden it's gonna be 27 tonight, that's a concern. And the thing is, the pansy plant doesn't die because they are tough enough to take it. What happens is it burns the color off. And that's why we have them in the early spring, is to get an early spring color. So if you stick them out there, so I would say anytime it's in the 20s, or if they're newly out of a greenhouse in the 30s, I would bring them inside. You can kind of see we have ours inside because it was, I think it was in the 30s last night or 20s, whatever it was. And that's just too much for them, because we're selling, people buying because of the color, and it would strip the color off of them. And then you turn around and have to wait for them to rebloom. And by that time, people are on to their other annuals. So as pansies go, so I showed you the face, that was kind of the original one. And then over here, then the new varieties that have been around for decades is called clear. So if you want a clear, like we call it a clear mix. So no faces on them, and then that's the faces. So you also will see people put them in this so that it's, like little containers you'll see, so that you can take them in and out. That doesn't mean you can't get flats of them like regular, But be careful if you're going to put them in a pot, make sure it's something that you can either cover or you can take in the house. You want to jazz them up a little bit. Pretend like these are real pussy willows and that there's not tags on them because we don't have them in yet. But, you know, you can take a bowl and just shove the pansy sticks down in there, and then you kind of create a little something special, right? So there's all kinds. There's also stock that you can do. And then right here, this is a Helleborus. So I want to show this to you because this has also been forced. So even though it's the earliest perennial you'll see around town, this could get damaged. So be a little careful when you're buying. So you want this stuff to last as we get into spring. Well, it's starting to warm up. It gets cold, it gets warm. So I thought today we would play, Is It Too Early? Because that's what we do in garden centers. Everyone's excited. You get excited, right? So first up, fertilizer. Your crabgrass control and fertilizer, you'll start to see some of the commercial companies starting to apply that in March. Too early. Now, they have a lot of lawns to do, plus they're using different chemicals. For us, for you to do it, really, unless it gets really, really hot for extended periods, middle of April. Middle of April. If you put it down too early, you run out of control, and then crabgrass continues to germinate, and then you'll say, hey, that didn't work so well. Everyone wants to get out and, not so much anymore, but they definitely want to rake the lawn. But some people that are a little more affluent, they want to roll the lawn. Don't roll the lawn. That compacts the soil. It's really I don't know how that got started, but skip the roller. And if you want exercise, as Dick Crum used to say, don't put water in it and just roll around. But raking, even raking the lawn, what that does is it exposes weed seeds to sun and moisture, and it's not a good practice either, and it kind of pulls the thatch up. So really, you shouldn't really rake either. But you can pick up sticks, all right? So go out and pick up sticks, but no rolling, no raking. The one thing that you can apply, this is called Love Your Soil. This is a soil food. These are becoming very trendy, and we get a lot of good comments. I even looked up users' reviews. They're highly rated. It's got good science. It's different than just plain gypsum from the 1970s that we sold pallets and pallets and pallets of when I was a kid, and it turns out it takes like 300 years to work. I didn't know, right? I didn't know. Getting your beds ready. Preen, which is a pre-emergent that keeps weeds from germinating, doesn't kill the weeds that are there. You could do that, but make sure that you get your bed ready, you put it on top. You don't cultivate it in because you want it at that area where the germination takes place. So there's Extend It. There's one with fertilizer, which I think is kind of a ripoff because it seems like it'd be cheaper just to buy fertilize separate because the expensive part is the pre-emergent. So roses, March is the time we usually cut back roses and we start to fertilize. Big shout out to these guys, Espoma. They've been in the organic business since 1929. Everyone is catching up now, but it's more than just fertilizer. Their biotone is in there. It's really good for roses. Their whole line is really good. I mean, it just grows and grows. But as far as you cut the roses back, you fertilize every month through August, and then you trim them back to new wood. Shape them up, 45 cut, a good sharp pruner would be great. And you can also do it'd be a good time to start, you do your trees and evergreens in the spring and then again in the summer. And I know what everyone's asking about grass seed. Is it too early? Yeah, let's wait a few weeks until the soil temperature warms up. Well, I know we have warm temperatures coming up this week, so it might be a good time to get outside and kind of check out the yard and see how the house is looking. Well, I've been putting this segment off because when I talk about killing mice or killing anything, a lot of people don't like that because they don't like to kill anything, but a mouse is a rodent, and they do need to be controlled. So, you know, traps is obviously number one, but I think the thing that I always like to drive home is that some people take that having mice in your house is a given. You're just gonna have mice, there's nothing you can do. And that is not true. because if you have mice in your house, you really generally have some sort of defect in the building. In your home, there's something that is allowing the mice in. Mice generally don't knock on the front door and come in. So first, as far as traps go, when you have them, yeah, you gotta have a trap. I like, they're so much better than the old traps. They always talk about building a better mouse trap. Well, they have. They're easy to set, you bait them, and they'll take care of them. I like this one just because it's called Jaws. All right, so that one's kind of cool. I'm gonna drop that. And then if you're squeamish, you can actually get a trap where they go in and then you don't see them, and there's a little indicator on there that says mouse is caught, and then you just throw the whole thing away. So traps, the one thing I would not recommend, these glue traps were really popular back in the late 70s and 80s, and I think that's a very cruel way to rid yourself of a mouse. So I'd rather kill it. The one thing that is gathering a little bit of attention, because people really say it's work, are the preventatives. So you can put these little satchels in the garage, and people say they really work. This one's called Grandpa Gus, and I think everyone would agree that you could trust Grandpa Gus. So for your garage and stuff like that, because it is a little harder to mouse-proof the garage because of the door, so that would be a good thing. However, really, in our house, when our house was brand new, this was in like the 80s, we had mice the very first summer we moved in, and I thought, this is crazy, this is a brand new house. So it took me about 4 hours of inspection, and I was down in the crawl space, I was everywhere, until I finally found where the plate of the house had been shimmed up a little bit and the mice were getting in. You know, they always say a 1/4-inch diameter a mouse can get in, which I think is the mouse's PR company, because I don't think they can do that, but I do think a 1/4-inch crack that was long, they could slide in, and I think that's what they were doing. Once I sealed that, almost 40 years later, we've never had another mouse. It just takes time. There's products you can use. Foam is one you should not use, the regular foam, because the mice will eat right through it. However, there is a special one called Mouse Shield that has a repellent in it that will work for big gaps. But using regular caulking in concrete, there's concrete caulk, bigger patches, you just mix it with water. But again, spending that time, and generally if you have mice, you'll see droppings right in that area. You know, you go, ah, here it is, it was right there. So taking care of the structure of your building is number one. And then, and I know people don't like baiting stations, but I'm telling you, our cities would be full of rodents if, so that's another thing that can be done, but obviously you have to be careful about the pets with that. So I know it's not a great subject for breakfast, but someone had to say it.